schools should not be tolerating
But the schools are not.
And teachers should not be saying, if you believe that women have vaginas and men have penises, you have to leave the school. That is complete nonsense.
No.
Right?
In this particular case, the Telegraph cited this handful of examples. They were by teachers, individual teachers. They were not school policy. And at least one case, the school disowned the teacher and the policy and said that it wouldn't happen again.
But what about this case in Rye College?
Well, yeah, I'm sure there are some examples of excesses, but on the basis of those exceptions, you can't make a generalised attack upon the school system and suggest that all our kids are being propagandized in this way, because it's simply not
when you hear
happening.
that teacher, I think, to bring Douglas back in, when you hear that teacher, there's clear evidence of what we've all been fearing has been going on, which is a teacher caught on tape literally spewing nonsensical gender ideology propaganda.
But one teacher.
Yes,
only one teacher.
One teacher,
tens of thousands.
Well, hang on, one teacher caught on tape. Right? There have been many other instances of this being reported, but no one's actually had it on tape.
Well, well, well. This gentleman right here with the pride tie, right? We know what side of the fence he's on. And what does he say? Just like everybody else. Oh, it's just one person. It's just one lady. It's just one guy. And, you know, nothing else is going on. It's just like one person. What are you talking about? It's not happening all across the country. It's not happening all across in the schools. No way. Don't link just one person and basically, you know, color the whole bunch of people out there as extremists in terms of the gender ideologue movement. No, 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 not at all. Anyways, folks, we're going to get to more of this, but before we do so, we just want to welcome everybody. Welcome one and all. I'm Dr. Nasir of the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. And what's on tap for today? Well, you just saw it right there. We're going to hear from 3 different people, a couple of journalists out there. We got Douglas Murray and, you know, Piers Morgan. Let's see what these people have to say about the classroom identity crisis going on across the pond in Great Britain. So let's get that video right now.
To the Partygate scandal, when we finally got a video of the people having what was clearly a party. There have been lots of rumours about it. So now we have a teacher clearly on tape doing this
But
stuff.
it's not official school policy.
If I
Schools
may,
across the country
well, she's still, to my knowledge, she is still working at that school. Douglas.
If I may, first of all, Ava rather unfortunately misspoke earlier when she said that the schoolgirl in question was acting out of fallacy. I think you meant a fantasy. But actually, she is acting out of fallacy.
Thanks ever so
fallacy.
much. But do you know what I find
fascinating? She was right with fallacy.
Do you know what's fascinating?
A fallacy? Oh, we could take that in so many different directions.
Which has been propagated. A fallacy which has been propagated by gender ideologues and is doing profound damage to gay people, among others, in our society, as well as women.
Like
and let me explain
cared.
explain very quickly why. I can't quite hear you. I can hear you muttering something. Let me quickly explain why.
I love the way Douglas Murray just velvet glove. I can hear you muttering something, so let me continue mansplaining to you, baby.
A poll that just got published in the United States showed that among the general population, support for gay marriage has been starting to decline in the last year. Why is that? It's because the arguments that actually brought about liberal rights for all minorities in the last few decades have started to get turned on their head and turned against people. What is the source of that? It is the gender ideology movement. What is the tripwire for the general public? It is children. It is people learning that their children are being taught nonsensical things. It is being...
That is so true. If they kept the kids out of it, this wouldn't be such a big situation. But they're starting to go after the children. They're grooming children. We all know that.
Seen by the wider public, most of whom are heterosexual and don't need to identify as cis or anything else. It is being seen from that vantage point as the LGBTQIA+ movement losing control of itself. And so a backlash is starting. And the backlash is coming because people are lying to children and are using children for medical experiments. There's nothing funny about that. There's nothing that should cause...
Oh, and she just said, that's just ridiculous. Everything that you're saying, Douglas Murray, is just, you're just fomenting, just trying to fomenting hatred against groups. You're just fear-mongering. It's just nonsense. They're not going after our children. They're not using them as medical guinea pigs, Joseph Mengele style. No, they're not doing that at all.
Was levity in that. It should be treated by adults seriously.
Okay,
No,
Ava?
So, Douglas, it's really important, actually, all of that point that you've just brought up, it's very on brand for you because, you like to stoke fear. You've actually made a career out of it. I'll take you back to your book, The Strange Death of Europe, and you made a big fright, you frightened the entire public about your thoughts on Europe, and we ended up in Brexit. You weren't the sole contributor to that, but you were a big
Can we
voice
stick on to
that.
the
Ava,
I
theme?
will.
If I may
And
say
then,
so
now
very
we're talking
quickly.
about LGBTQ,
If I may say so
and you're
very
creating...
quickly,
Hang on,
Piers.
you spoke. I'm speaking.
No,
I'm speaking.
I'll
You spoke.
reply.
This is,
And I'll reply.
Hello. I haven't
Let
finished.
Ava speak, please.
Oh, the gay pride guy, right? With the gay pride tie. He decides to become, Ava's savior, right? She needs a man to come in to help her out. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know if he's a man. My bad. I should assume his gender. Oh, said it again.
Now, back on the trans issue, when you're talking about LGBTQ, what you've just done there is basically say that the whole of America, who have historically had a problem with gay marriage, are now turning on it because a couple of children in a classroom in Sussex want to be a cat. If you can't see the ridiculousness in that argument, I can't help you.
The bigger issue
first of
is
all, I
there
must
is no
respond
such
to
thing
Ava,
as gender
Piers.
ideology. We
I
all
must
have
respond.
gender.
Oh, there's no such thing as gender ideology, says the guy who's wearing the gay pride tie. No, there's nothing gender. Then what the hell are we discussing then if there's no thing as gender ideology? There would be no talking points. No gender ideology. Oh, this guy's too funny.
Identities. You identify as a man, and I fully respect you.
Well, no.
No.
I was born a biological
Yes,
male.
yes.
That's where this whole thing
Piers, you need to let me
goes
come in.
rogue. I'll bring you back in, Douglas, in one say. That's where the whole debate goes rogue. You were born a biological male. You were born a biological female. Douglas, biological male. This is just a fact, right?
No.
Once you start saying there are hundreds of genders and you can identify as anything you want, you're going to end up with kids at school going, I'm a horse. And you've got to treat me like a horse.
Piers, you're confusing two things.
No, I'm not.
Sex and gender.
I'm not.
I
because
accept
they are being conflated.
biological sex is one thing which I totally accept, and so do 99% of the people in the LGBT plus community. Gender is something different. Gender identity is how you see yourself.
And do you
of
believe
course-
it's limitless?
No, I don't believe it's limited.
What's the limit?
Well, there is basically male and female and intersex, but there are people who have different gender identities.
No, but how many genders are there?
Well, there is no fixed number.
So what's the limit?
I don't see a particular limit.
There's no limit. So when you said there's no, you said there is a limit. You admit there's no limit.
Sorry.
That's the thing right there, folks. Oh, there's no limit. There's a limit. How much should the limit be? I don't know what the limit should be, but there is a limit. Okay, so is it? No, there's not a limit. I mean, these guys want their bread buttered on both sides.
Well,
There is male and female.
is there a
identity.
limit or not to
There's
the number of
intersex
genders?
identity.
No, that's sex.
But
gender, is there a limit to number of genders?
well, there are some people who are asexual. That's an
no,
identity.
there are
some
the BBC.
people-
The BBC has
Yeah.
put in education videos. There are 100+ genders.
Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with
So
that.
what is the limit? What's the number?
Well, I'm not going to specify a particular number, but it's a very.
Well, why not? You just said you don't agree with the BBC. They said there's 100. So you should basically say, well, okay, less than that, less than 100. All right. Should be from 2 to 99 and put the greater than or less than sign somewhere in between.
It's very small.
But where do
Very
you
small.
draw the line?
Well, I draw the line based on science and evidence, and we know that.
He bases the line based on science, biology, and evidence. That's where he draws the line, okay? He's using science, biology, and evidence to make his case for genders, multiple genders, and multiple identities.
There is a thing called intersex, where people are born with a mixture of both.
That is
male-
literally what it says
both-
on.
both
That's what it
male
says.
No, we keep telling you over and over again, folks, intersex is just a variability within the particular gender. within male and female, somebody becomes intersex and is labeled as such until they decide to, the doctors and the parents and the a person who has the malady, the situation, until they decide themselves which identity they would rather prefer, which gender they would prefer, and then decide and go through whatever needs to be done in terms of resolving that issue.
On a
Female.
team that is intersex.
Yeah.
People are born with chromosomes from both,
Yeah.
right? That is a medical condition.
Yeah.
That's inarguable, right? We're talking about gender.
But
Douglas,
trans identity is also a biological fact.
I know, but once I
rooted in brain structures and processes.
I understand it, but once
as the new science shows.
But once you get into 100 genders, people can
we're not
literally
debating 100 genders.
Well, actually, the BBC has taught kids that. This is back to Douglas's point about affecting the brains of impressionable young kids.
Well, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the BBC if they're saying
Okay.
100 plus genders.
Okay, Douglas.
Very quickly, I don't know, Ava, anything about your career. I don't know if you have one. But you did try to imply...
Douglas, I don't know if you have a career. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you have one. But let me continue. And velvet glove. Unbelievable. Look at her face. Oh, God. Let's continue.
Why that you knew something about mine, and you just showed you know nothing about it, because actually my 2017 bestseller, The Strange Death of Europe, was not about the EU. So you should learn at some point to read more than the title of the book before
Europe.
commenting upon it.
It was about, and it was about
so
migration.
Let me very quickly...
And how rude are you? How rude are you?
Very
You've
quickly,
built a career out of fear-mongering, and you're now importing those evangelical American ideas onto UK television.
You haven't even built a career, have you? You haven't even built a career.
What are you talking about? I'm on the same panel as you, hon, and we're getting the same...
Do you know what? I'm going to wrap it up by saying you've both got wonderful careers, or you...
Well, that went downhill fast towards the end, right? The fireworks started to sort of, simmer a little bit in the middle of that dialogue. And then at the end, I guess, Douglas decided to go in, Ray decided to go straight in, baby, and started going right after Ava. And she didn't like it at all. And I guess Piers had to come in to try to be the conciliatory person inside there. But the damage was already done. Douglas Murray has struck again. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host, Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. You know what to do. Hit those video links above and below. I'll leave you with my final thought, which is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. Until next time, folks, take care and stay safe.